It's the last day of November and already we can smell Christmas. This evening, we're bringing you the news live from our studio on the John Evans Samuels High Street in Accra. Tonight, these are top stories. The 2022 budget has been approved today by the majority in Parliament. And also, some LGBTQI community members say they do not want the act legalized. The story will be sandwiched with some excerpts from the bill's public hearing. We'll bring you details of these and some more as you watch the evening news bulletin for this whole hour. Don't forget to stream in live on Facebook on Adoatv Ghana, YouTube, Adoatv GH. The news is proudly sponsored by Vena Natural Mineral Water, CB Herbal Center, Blue Steel Ties and Accessories. I am Anastasia Badu, and two details. The majority in Parliament have, with a majority vote, approved the 2022 budget and economic policy. This comes after 138 majority in Parliament, including the first Deputy Speaker, who sat in as Speaker, voting on the motion posed by the Majority Leader, Honorable Oseche Mensah Bonsu, and his Deputy, Honorable Atachia. The leaders of the majority in the House had earlier moved the motion for the annulment of the decision by the minority on Friday, and also through Standing Order 51 reposed the full authority of speakership in the first Deputy Speaker, which was subsequently adopted by the Speaker. Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament totally deserted the House ahead of today's sitting. We understand Parliament has approved the 2022 budget with the absence of the minority. What more? We'll be speaking to Reginald Addy, who is in Parliament, to tell us what is going on in Parliament. And if Reginald is on the line, hello, Reginald. Okay, so Reginald is not ready, and when we get through to Reginald, we'll speak to Reginald. But let's continue. Minister for Communications and Digitalization, who doubles as Member of Parliament for Ablekuma West, Honorable Eslo Wusuekuful, has raised some rather interesting concerns with regards to some details of the anti-LGBTQI+ bill, which is currently undergoing a public hearing. According to the legislator, if the bill seeks to protect the sanity of marriages, then slave queens, sugar daddies, and mommies should be careful, as they should be the unintended victims of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your memorandum provides that the state should take steps to into the fabric of national life and prescribes the mode by which the state shall do so. Through formal and informal education and the conscious introduction of cultural dimensions to relevant aspects of national planning. That's what Article 39(1) says, and the mode by which it prescribes that the state takes measures to encourage integration of appropriate customary values into the fabric of our national life. It doesn't talk about punitive legislation. So why are we going down this path, citing that as a rationale for the passage of this bill? Secondly, I see that the definition of Ghanaian family values could be problematic if we were to pass this bill in the form in which it is and seek to enforce it. It includes respect for the sanctity of marriage as a lifelong relationship between a man and a woman, each of whose gender is assigned.
We sincerely apologize for, but we'll do well to bring you the video when it's ready again. But let's move on from that as the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament resumes its public hearing on the anti-LGBTQI plus bill. Before it, let's take you down memory lane when the news team filed a report on some PRO gay members who were divided over the passage of the bill, as some of their activities will only add up to the numerous challenges they face.
The Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaians Family Value Bills 2021, an 8th private member bill laid before Parliament to decriminalize the activities of LGBTQ in Ghana, have been met with several mixed reactions. According to the proposed bill, individuals who engage in activities related to LGBTQ+ would be fined or sentenced to jail for not more than 10 years and not less than 5 years. Many Ghanaians are ignorant about the colors of the LGBTQ community and hence purchase phone case covers which have these colors.
Actually, I don't know anything about the color, but it's only that we are selling it. People have been asking for it. So we'll be buying it and we'll be selling it to people. As for me, I don't know what the color represents, actually. People have been asking me for it, so I'm not into gay, and I don't know any symbol concerning gay. I'm here for business, you understand? So I'm selling it, actually, but I don't know what it represents. I've been hearing that this color represents gay or something like that, but as for somebody who is not into it, I don't know about it, but people have been asking, and I'll be buying and selling for people.
Amidst the debate among section of the public as to whether the bill is a misplaced priority or not, the news team visits Bukom, a community in Accra, where activities of LGBTQ are not totally under wraps. It's a densely populated community with indigenes being Gans. One would have thought that calls for the decriminalization rather than decriminalization of the activity by the Western world for African countries would be supported by members of the community. Meanwhile, a gay identified as Emmanuel Boule has a contrary view. He believes the legalization of homosexuality rather would make matters worse for members of the community because it will be a situation where the laws accept but the people under the law resist.
Legalize. It's not legal. Me de wasana legalize kenu anyishi. Me de wasana balaka. No jimi ni mi fi. Je na je chele ma sole ma pa na no fai. Ni ni yo eke kem ne jimi yem. Shinke na no ake yo wa be no bo me je la kon bo me mi gbe. Na ke mi hawo ni eba manja no. Ne mo fi ama na ke la kan bo mo jimi ama gbe la kan. Me ne ocho ni man se bi no ke anu fi la kan loko e. Ame be ni na ma ke no ejimi. Chi wo ma ne me na ke no jamo e bi wa. No nye ni ma me gbe ake ma tun le ke no tumu. Ake ma me gbe ake mi awo. Beni eba manja no ba shon na ye public place. E be fine.
For Mas, another gay, he stands totally against the anti-bill, citing their freedom and rights as his reasons.
Because onim ebia the obed disturb you. Yes, in ebi mum pay asem. Ebi mum pay asem. Ebi musu pay asem. But onim baby obara akofa lu biun no wa disturb you because of say. Like NG because me a pure J. Me deny I'm not a J. Me a J. Me mean slow nipa NG. So I'm like me name baby moody but me they are much.
Other citizens shared their views.
We are in the end time, and we need to preach about the end time mercy, to stand against anything that is not in favor with the people, as the Bible talks about it. So talking about so we are against it, and we are pleading, and we know the people in authority know what they are doing, and then we who are Christians have to be able to stand firm on the word of God, to disagree with them and make sure that we talk to our youth so that they all be against it. This is what is going on in Nineveh, and God sent Jonah into Nineveh to go and preach against it and cry against it, and Jonah ran away. Eventually Jonah obeyed and went and proclaimed the gospel that people should repent and turn from the gay and the lesbian, and God forgave them when they repented.
Gays in LGB no kono e BT no kono e sanafum. Enika amobo e sana jelibu. Yeah. If you are in such sin, kambo sana jelibu. No le ebe wo mlami ye bie akesani afi gayism e bie sanafumi. Sanafumi kula.
Some toll workers across the country have besieged Parliament on Tuesday, November 30, 2021, to register their displeasure as well as petition the August House over the cessation of road tolls, which has rendered them redundant. According to them, the directive from the Minister of Roads and Highways, Honorable Kwesiama Akwata, is having an adverse effect on their livelihoods.
Persons living with disability working as toll booth operators have staged a demonstration during the early hours of Tuesday, November 30, as they besieged Parliament to present a petition over the scrapping of toll booths by the Roads and Highways Minister on Thursday, November 18, 2021. The disgruntled operators were clad in their uniform with red bands, with placards which had inscriptions like, "The workers are more than 800, Kojo upon Kruma. Amakun Ata is not above the law. Krum Ayeshi. Fix our roads. Amakun Ata among others." According to them, governments promised to continue paying them, although the tolls are scrapped may never see the day of light because there's at least an outstanding 3-month salary arrears owed them by government.
Yes, sir. Ye nini da so obabia. Ejuma we na ya nyina ye kakakakra ye di hwe no. Owoma ye peti mi cha sana ba. Uye ejuma wo ye sekura mo si he ye nti ase. Ede ye de hia ye kura se. To na mba o. Ye penyinyi na eka from cleaners besi collector so ye sre o ma. Ye di nyame di sre o ma. Omo fa epeman proma eshi.
Abdul Wahab is one of these operators, and he couldn't control his anger as he pours out his frustrations.
Abaya disappointing. Also, Bama Yasika, Metakwan was ready a crank, yeah, and no Babontia besame me, Bonnie Payne, some Bokrono, and someone I'm a Bokrono. Is it a crime for us to be a disabled? Even America, the pay tolls. And I was saying, Juma, young what's less than Diana. It should pay us, or the anchor, every 7 months, every 5 months, every 3 months. Was young got in a fear. Or being got young got in a fear, Massa, yet in Pomontianka. You got in a fear number Janka.
Dominant among their concerns was the absence of a prior notice.
I do not abide the gun on a minister. One may notice be a 2 or such a 3 months salary as of the mine. One man can be a Utivity and Cotrafi. And then you are in Makodi. Say if you go up, baby, my Kafayako Shawan Sana, good man, work with man. Uviti and Cotrafi. Your way, a woman. Yes, I come. If you are from Bow, Massa,
ebi wi obu odi gwa edi ma no o me ko tira fie eni bia papa dia sram de pan chew every event no ya ko 4.something billion for a month it took us a year no 78 million baby ko fu ko na odi yini ma o no contract ma o bisa o baby o this canifa na ye dia ye to collect ye krofo ye adwuma no collect e de ba MPP ba ye no o say obema ye adwuma ye because of said ye sra de wo kwan ho iti o pesa obi a oya person with disability no every kwan ho ama ye adwuma o to boot and now my adwuma ya o say o je ye adwuma asa fi yesem e dan ana ye ni yan re ana ye man mo ekodi me wo pobi man to ha ya every month be ye 900,000 Ghana cedis per month it calculate for 1 year kwan no say pobi man kwan yanko kaswa ayi men samba tomato ma akato ma sachrema at the same time masa di tono ama private tono ako private wa e be se na ban wo nyeska munyeska bia na wo muto ana wo kasa yento workers ye hweska ye mbokro no
ya this ready ani say adwuma ni krom ena ya benya to adwuma ya ye bi papa at least yenim say ye pay so enso unim say when need so say month ni end ya at least ubenya bibi that is say ye ba be hye dem ye ni ye man kodi die ye dem tia ye rent ebi mu kra fie kire transfer na say ya ye adwuma ma private person just unnecessary transfer enti omo ma ye adwuma back na ye sika na akamu no so esmas neba no mu tia ye ka na ye so ye ndibi na ye so ye person.
The secretary of the Ghana Toll Workers Group's Edward Duncan, after presenting the petition on behalf of the group, spoke to Reginald Adi.
There's a toll plaza called Kubasi that the road was not that good. That the minister promised them that he's going to repair the roads and then they will go back to work. That it's going to take him 3 months. You know, as I speak to you now, it's been a year. The road have been repaired all right. My colleagues have not been called back to work and not even a single month's salary has been paid them. So that strengthens our position that we don't actually believe that, you know, what the minister is telling us will be fulfilled. And mind you, the place that I'm talking about, the Kubasi place, there's only 30 workers there. But nationwide, we are over 800. So we say, even if you cannot re-engage 30 people, how can you re-engage 800? And then the Minister of Finance at the point in time also told us that the government payroll is full. So if the government payroll is full, where are you going to get money to pay us when you reassign us? You know, this and many other.
Quite an unfortunate one, but let's quickly move on and speak to my colleague Reginald Adi, who is on the line to give us an update on what has happened in Parliament. Reginald, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Anastasia. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. I like the calmness of your voice anyway. What really has transpired in Parliament today?
Well, the calmness of my voice is currently as a result of my presence in a press briefing by the minority.
Okay.
Now, certainly you expect that the minority, after everything that has happened, and especially that they weren't present in the chamber today, would want to express their view and opinion on what has transpired in Parliament today. So what has transpired in Parliament today is that after a long wait, well over 5 hours of the announced schedule of 10 a.m. for today's proceedings, the Speaker came in at exactly 3 p.m. and the proceedings of the House having gone through, there was a motion from the majority leader, Secretary Mensa Bonsu, on a dissolution of the decision made by the minority, which appeared to be the majority in Parliament on Friday, where the budget was thrown out. So subsequently, there was a support from the deputy majority leader, and initially the first deputy speaker had, Joseph Owusu, had indicated that there were provisions in the standing orders that permitted his vote to be counted. And so, by business of the day, a head count was conducted to indicate the number of members of parliament that were present. In the House were 127 members of the majority, including the first deputy speaker, who was presiding over the House at the moment. And so after the finance minister readdressing the House and referring the House, there was a unanimous vote from the side of the majority, and they had it. Let's also bear in mind that within all of these, the minority was totally absent from the House, as was the case for the majority last Friday.
What does this mean anyway? It looks as though people were looking forward to a chaotic session today, looking at how things turned on Friday with the Speaker, Alban Bagbing. But the absence of him and having the first Deputy Speaker sitting in as the Speaker now, of course, is going to go to the majority side. Of course, we're anticipating that this was going to happen. Is this the reason? Can we say that this is the reason why the minority actually decided not to turn up in Parliament?
Well, I didn't get your last statement clearly, but if I call you from the earlier portions, you are asking what this could mean. Well, on the general side, as you would have it, the 2022 budget and economic policy has been adopted. What this means is that next year, yourself, myself, and other Kenyans would have to be paying that 1.75% e-levy. Now, before the vote, we had even seen some stories online and on some other platforms indicating that some of these levies were scrapped off. Unfortunately, when the finance minister addressed the House, none of these were scrapped off.
I was coming to that, Reginald, not to catch you, but you know, the minority had listed about 5 things they wanted out of the budget before it could be approved. Does that mean that these 5 things were not touched at all? That the budget that was read some time ago, that the minority is even kicking against, was the same budget that was approved?
Well, yes. So there has been no change in the budget at all. And by the finance minister, we should all challenge ourselves and push together. So it means that, yeah, we are being asked to challenge ourselves and see how best we can rake in some revenue for the state.
Did he perhaps giving some clues as to how we can challenge ourselves? Because if you ask me, some people, with the story that just ran before calling you, we saw you speaking to the toll booth operators who are calling on governments to give them jobs because they had lost them. So how did he give any clue as to how we will challenge ourselves so to be able to pay that levy?
Well, as it stands now, I'm happy that you cited the toll booth operators. Now, they were saying that now they are worse challenged. And if the finance minister is saying that people who are worse challenged should challenge themselves, if the finance minister is saying that the Kenyans who have lamented severally to challenge themselves, then it means that we should be prepared to face some dire consequences as far as money transaction is concerned. And so, as it stands now, the budget has been approved. This is going to stand. I don't know how you and I can challenge ourselves. But as it stands now, we should brace ourselves to be paying 1.75 plus the original 1% on what you pay on your usual mobile money.
Interesting times.
Exceeding 100. Yes, interesting times indeed. Now, I am currently in a press briefing.
I was coming to that because you mentioned that the minority were not present. So I was asking what they were doing or where they were at the time that the budget was approved. But we've also gotten a hint that there's a press briefing ongoing, I'm sure, by the minority, right?
Exactly. So the minority was actually in their offices at Job 600, and for some reasons they decided not to attend the proceedings today. However, if you listen to the first deputy speaker who was presiding over the proceedings today, he indicated that they had a meeting with the minority prior to their appearance in the House, and they had no idea why the minority absconded the House. However, hearing from the minority leader, Una Iprisu, he indicated that because the considerations that they put in the 2022 budget were not taken, they decided not to be partakers of whatever had transpired. Not that their numbers wouldn't have favored them, because indeed, if their numbers were present, there would have been a tie in their votes. being that the speaker, the first deputy speaker who was presiding over, wouldn't have voted. But for some reasons, the minority preempted that this was going to be the case, so they decided to stay away.
Let me ask you something a viewer would have wanted to ask. Is this because is this intent of the minority as a result of the speaker, I mean Alban Bagming, not being around? Because of course we always align him to the minority side. Is this intent of the yes as a result to his absence?
Well, unless you want to speculate, as things appear obvious. But according to the explanation given by the minority leader, the 5 pointers that they presented were not considered. And they say that they will continuously kick against the e-levy. They say that they are totally against the collateralization of state entities and state resources. They say that the concessions and agreements that were given for some projects like Agenda 111 is concerned, they so much do not agree, and that the majority that has approved the budget are not even aware of some of the proceedings for Agenda 111, and so they have approved a budget they are not aware of, the consequences of which may be dire to the country.
But how do they intend kicking against this? If Parliament has already approved it, it means that work is going to begin. How do they intend doing that? Have they said that already?
So this is where the biggest bone of contention lies, as to whether the presiding speaker has the right to vote or not is the problem. And so the minority is indicating that, and in fact they cite a standing order 108, wherein it is stated, that is 1083, that a deputy speaker or any other member presiding shall not retain his original vote while presiding. Now, this is clearly indicated in the standing orders. However, the first deputy speaker is seen discarding this aspect of the standing orders. And they have cited some precedences which, according to the minority, goes against them. The minority has also cited precedences which goes against the decision taken by the first deputy speaker. And so they seek to want to challenge the ruling that has passed the 2022 budget. And moving on, they have indicated that, this is just coming from the minority leader, that every decision that needs to be taken in the House shall be conducted through votes. Now, what this means for us as a nation is that we must brace ourselves for a lot of standoffs in Parliament. This is not just going to be a hold in a decision and policy making, but the country in itself may come to a standstill. And we pray that the members of Parliament would reconsider and see how best we can move forward as a nation.
Interesting times, Reginald. But thank you so much for speaking to us and the insights. We'll still get in touch with you, and then we'll get to know what has transpired. But I'm sure that we should embrace ourselves, like you said, for some serious back and forths in the House. Anyway, thank you so much, Reginald.
Thank you too very much, Anastasia.
All right. We've been speaking to Reginald Adi, who is currently in Parliament, briefing us on what has transpired in the House. And per what he told us, we've gotten to know that the 2022 budget, as read or presented by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has been approved. Well, we'll move on to some other stories. And coming your way again, aside parliamentary stories, the President of the Republic, His Excellency, I beg your pardon, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, left Ghana on Tuesday, 30th November 2021 to attend the 45th Annual Legislative Conference of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators being held in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America. The event, which will be attended by U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, will see President Akufo-Addo deliver the keynote address at the Africa Flagship Program session of the conference on the intersectionality of Ghana's post-COVID economic development strategy, and that of the U.S. The National Black Caucus of State Legislators is America's premier organization representing and serving the interest of African American state legislators. With more than 700 members representing more than 60 million Americans, NBCSL serves as a network, advocate, and catalyst for public policy innovation, information exchange, and joint action on critical issues affecting African Americans and other marginalized communities. The president was accompanied by the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Shirley Ayokobotre, MP, and by officials of the Presidency and Foreign Ministry. President Akufo-Addo will return to Ghana on Thursday, 2nd December, and in his absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 60, Clause 8 of the Constitution, act in his stead. The Medina MP Francis Xavier Sosu joined his constituents in Ayimensa, Damfa and Otinibi in a demonstration over poor roads on Monday, October 25, 2021. During the protest, some of the protesters allegedly blocked roads, bent ties and destroyed some public property. Matters and issues have been arising after the MP, who has provisionally been charged for unlawfully blocking a public road and the destruction of public property, failed to appear in court for the third time. However, the Kaneshie District Court on Monday, November 29, issued a bench warrant for the arrest of Francis Xavier Sosu, the Member of Parliament for Medina. Members of the NDC has described the motion by the court to be unconstitutional. Speaking to lawyer Agbote, he clearly explained whether or not his arrest is unconstitutional.
For the arrest of the Member of Parliament is unconstitutional is one that doesn't have to arise at all. Because the NDC made up of lawyers, seasoned lawyers that I know. And they know that there is a saying, apart from the provisions of the laws, there is this axiom in law that says that crime vitiates all. What it means is that even if you have immunities, if you have exemptions, once you go committing crime, you surrender all those exemptions and immunities. Immediately, crime is alleged or is committed. For instance, we have a fundamental human right of freedom to movement and freedom to speech. But immediately you have aberrations with the law, your freedom to movement is stopped immediately. You are arrested. And your freedom to speech, you'll be warned to even talk. They will tell you that, look, you are supposed to remain silent. But if you want to say anything, you can go ahead. But anything you say will be used as evidence against you in court. That's a caution to you before you even start talking. Even though you have the freedom of speech, freedom to speak, but you have to be cautioned before you talk. So you are even discouraged from talking, or you are even restricted from talking. So these human rights that we have, immediately crime is alleged or crime is committed, they are vitiated. That's why I say crime vitiates all. Now, in the case of the MP, the argument the NDC or the minority may be making is that he is an MP and for that matter, he has immunities. But the immunities of the MPs are limited to the performance of their parliamentary duties. Other than the process of performing it or they are on the way to go and perform it. In general, that is where the immunities are limited. I don't think that leading a demonstration is part of the parliamentary duties that the MPs need to perform. So for me, if you ask me, I would say that no, it is very constitutional. You see, there's one thing. There are three main arms of government, as we all know. The legislature, the judiciary, and then the executive. There are always conflicts. As human, we are going to have conflict today, conflict tomorrow, and conflict will not end. In terms of rights, in terms of understanding an issue and all that. So, and the judiciary is always in the middle. That is the only place that if the other arms of government have differences, they run to. So if there is an order from that last arbiter or the final arbiter is the court. So if there is an order from the final arbiter that you must report, and you as a lawmaker refuses to go, of course, what you are doing is that you are disrespecting the orders of the courts. And you see, if you have a last arbiter like the court, but that's the last place of resort. If you have that place and that place is not disrespected, it is not respected and it is disrespected, it means that we don't have anywhere to run to in terms of disputes. And in doing so, you are having a banana republic or a republic of anarchy where there is no law and where people do things the way they want to do it. But you see, the judiciary has served this purpose for all these years. So I think that my friends on the other side must look at the law again and they must look at it again. It can never be unlawful for a court of properly constituted jurisdiction to order for the arrest of anybody who has been suspected to have committed crime. It can never be.
Established by the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 766, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority's aim was to regulate and monitor all approaching to the three-tier pension scheme across the country. The authority has, over the last 10 years, seen to the compliance of the Act, approved trustees, fund managers, established standards and guidelines, and monitored implementation of the basic National Social Security Scheme.
According to the Pensions Act, its governing body must consist of representatives and stakeholders of relevant institutions, as well as members from the Bank of Ghana, Securities and Exchange Commission, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Justice, Organized Labour, Ghana Employers Association, National Pensioners Association, and the CEO of the NPRA. Honorable Ignatius Bafo Iwua, Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, congratulated the newly appointed board members with a charge to rope in more than 6 million persons onto any form of pension scheme, just as the Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme, which will soon have more than 1.2 million cocoa farmers on board. He further urged the NPRA to recruit high caliber of persons into their workforce, make issues of pensions a daily topic issue to be discussed, and regulate even the first tier pension, which is SNIT.
One of the biggest challenges you have is that as a regulator, you are supposed to regulate every pension activity in the country, including even the first tier pension, SNIT. And you know the kind of caliber of persons that are in SNIT. Because of their enormous size, they are able to recruit high caliber of persons to be able to carry out the kind of work which goes on there. So if you are supposed to regulate them, supervise them, then it means that you may also have to look at your recruitment program and actually go for those that top notch in the industry to be at NPRA, so that when your people go out there to regulate the activities of the smaller schemes, they will be confident enough, they know their staff, and therefore nobody can bully them around. So another charge I want to give you is awareness creation about issues of pensions. You know, we live in a society where people hardly even discuss issues of pension. And oftentimes, even at the workplace, anytime you see somebody be curious about his or her pensions, it is about when the person is so close to the retirement age. But I want to believe that even from day one that somebody is engaged at the workplace, issues of pension should preoccupy the discussions of such persons. At negotiations between labor and management, pension should be one of the core issues that should be discussed. So I want you to lead the charge to make pensions, issues of pension, one of the issues that is discussed on daily basis, both at negotiations and at the workplace. Reliably informed that within a year or two, the cocoa farmers pension, for instance, is going to bring about 1.2 million cocoa farmers into the pension scheme. I want to see same done for other trade unions like drivers associations, hairdressers, garages, and what have you. It will be so easy to be able to mobilize them around their trade unions to develop a product for them.
Honorable Ken Oforiatta also admonished the need to have more people registered for one pension scheme or the other to improve the industry and take off burden from government.
According to the Global Infrastructure Hub, we have a 45 billion infrastructure gap to fill by 2040. This can be plugged solely through the budget. We need to create a supportive ecosystem that allows our pension funds to play a prominent and leading role in funding sound and well-structured projects with adequate risk-sharing agreements to allocate risks and provide security to institutional investors. We need to bring on board new pragmatic ideas to help the authority execute this 5-year development plan starting next year, 2022. The role of digitization also cannot be overemphasized. As part of its duties, the board must ensure MPRA leverages digital tools to advance efforts in increasing coverage of the informal sector.
Mr. Paul Simon Infojo Kranting, the current board chair, in his acceptance speech after the inauguration of the board at the Ministry of Finance, thanked the President of the Republic on the honor done him and pledged to build on the successes achieved in the pension space and move to greater heights.
In this regard, I hereby call on my board colleagues to put our shoulders to the wheel and lead by example by being vigilant as regulators and supervisors. Honorable Ministers, I also want to sincerely commend members of the previous board for the great work they did in pursuing pragmatic policies and strategies and seeing the authority through an efficient regulatory and supervisory role within the national pensions space. A lot has been achieved within the 11 years of the authority, and it is our duty to help build on these successes to move the pensions industry to greater heights. There remains a lot more that must be done. A large proportion of the Ghanaian population will retire from their labors and not having made enough nest egg to meet their needs. While ensuring compliance by employers, the authority's representation in all regions of the country will facilitate communication and enlightenment of the working population on pension issues as provided in the law. The board's priorities will be strengthening the authority to enable it to ensure security of pension assets, ensure compliance by employers, effective service delivery by custodians, fund managers, and trustees, among others. The urgent need to provide a steady and speedy growth of the pensions industry in Ghana.
And we'll go for a quick break. We'll return shortly with some details of business news.
Blue City is a manufacturer supply of high quality fashion accessories. We design and make quality bow ties, flying ties, lapel pins, ladies brooches, fabric necklaces, African wares, and so much more for your weddings, schools, institutions, bands, choir, singing groups, individuals, and so many more. We use both African prints and foreign fabrics to make your beautiful accessories for you. Oh yeah! Contact us via call or WhatsApp or SMS on 0240 926 564. Locate us at Odoko Official Town opposite Emil's Preparatory School. Check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Blue City Fashion. Blue City, creativity and style.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with RwandAir today. RwandAir, the safest airline in Africa.
RwandAir, fly the dream of Africa.
You're welcome back. Now to our first story. The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the University of Ghana is calling on the government to review the 1.75% proposed electronic levy in next year's budget, which has been rejected by Parliament, saying the rate is overly punitive. In its post-budget analysis, Director of ISA, Professor Peter Quartey, said, even though the e-levy is not a bad idea in itself, given the fiscal pressure on the government, which requires it finds ways and means to beef up revenue, the rate proposed is unreasonable, hence should be trimmed to between 0.5 and 0.0%.
The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the University of Ghana is calling on government to review the 1.75% proposed electronic levy in the next year's budget, which has been rejected in court by Parliament, saying the rate is too much for Ghanaians. In its post-budget analysis, Director of ESEC, Professor Peter Quartey, said, even though the e-levy in its sense is not a bad idea, given the fiscal pressure on government, which requires government to find ways and means to beef up revenue, the rate proposed is unreasonable, hence should be trimmed to between 0.5% and 0.7%. Meanwhile, the controversy surrounding the e-levy moved Parliament last Friday to reject the budget after the majority side walked out. Presenting a concluding remark on the budget debate prior to the rejection, the minority leader Honorable Haruna Idrisu maintained his caucus stance on the disapproval of the newly proposed e-levy introduced in the 2022 budget. Among other concerns raised regarding the policies contained in the budget, he stated that the e-levy in particular turns the country backwards by affecting small businesses and individuals as well.
Former Finance Minister Seth Terkper is asking for in-depth details into how the government plans to achieve some of its targets in the 2022 budget. One of such is the government's revenue target, with which Mr. Terkper believes is extravagant. Speaking at a virtual 2022 budget review organized by PFM Tax Africa Network, he demanded specific details as to how the government and the Ghana Revenue Authority plans to reach these targets.
The government of Ghana is aiming at increasing the tax to GDP ratio from 16% to 20% in 2020. This was revealed by Finance Minister Akiano Furiata while reading the 2022 budget statement in Parliament. Although the government has missed its revenue target over the years, it is still hopeful that it can generate 100.5 billion Ghana cedis in revenue next year, up from the projected outturn 70.3 billion Ghana cedis in 2021. But the former finance minister said Tekbe believes these targets are not feasible. Speaking at a virtual 2022 budget review organized by PFM Tax Africa Network, he demanded specific details as to how the government and the Ghana Revenue Authority plan to reach these targets. The former finance minister said Tekbe is asking for an in-depth details into how the government plans to achieve some of its targets in the 2022 budget. One of such is government's revenue target, which he believes is over-ambitious.
And that makes it for business. Next is sports. Stay with us.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with RwandAir today. RwandAir, the safest airline in Africa.
RwandAir, fly the dream of Africa.
Blue City is a manufacturer and supplier of high-quality fashion accessories. We design and make quality bow ties, flying ties, lapel pins, ladies' brooches, fabric necklaces, African wares, and so much more for your weddings, schools, institutions, bands, choir, singing groups, individuals, and so many more. We use both African prints and foreign fabrics to make your beautiful accessories for you. Oh yeah! Contact us via call or WhatsApp or SMS on 0240-926-564. Locate us at Odoko Official Town opposite Emil's Preparatory School. Check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Blue City Fashion. Blue City, creativity and style.
You're welcome back to sports. And to the first story, Coach Ben Foucault has named Black Princesses squad for the World Cup qualifiers. The team departs from Accra today. Black Princesses coach Ben Foucault named his squad for their trip to Zambia to face the young Copper Queens in the 2022 FIFA Under-20 World Cup first leg qualifier.
The Black Princesses begins the Under-20 World Cup campaign against the young Copper Queens of Zambia. This will be the Black Princesses' first test in the qualifying stages after Mauritania's withdrawal, which gives the Princesses a walkover. Coach of the Black Princesses, Ben Foucault, has handed an invitation to 6 players of Hazaka's ladies. The 6 players played a major role in the success of the team at the recent Total Energies CAF Women's Champions League in Cairo, Egypt, when they finished second behind Mamelodi Sundowns ladies from South Africa. The Black Princesses have been in camp for 4 months preparing for their FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifiers against Zambia. The squad list announced by Coach Foucault includes goalkeepers Cynthia Colan, Grace Banwa, and Farahana Ziblim. Defenders Tedina Setre, Louisa Enimwa, Susan Amedia, Aisha Yakubu, Abna Anoma Opoku, Anastasia Achan, Zuleiha Fuseni. The midfielders are Evelyn Bedu, Azuma Bugre, Monica Adai, and Elizabeth Opon. Wingers Mefia Nyame, Grace Enima, Jafari Rahama, Doris Budua, Susie Didite, Constance Sewa Ajman, and the strikers are Mukarama Abdullahi, Ophelia Sewa Amponsa, Salamatu Abdullahi. The first leg is scheduled for Lusaka on Saturday, December 5, 2021, with the reverse fixture slated for Accra in 2 weeks' time. Ghana are chasing a record 6th straight FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. The Black Princesses made their first World Cup appearance in 2010 and have gone ahead to play in 5 tournaments under Spain: 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016, and 2018. The team departs Accra for Lusaka on Tuesday, November 30th, 2021.
You'll find more stories on our website on adwanewsonline.com. But this brings us to the end of the news tonight. But before we go, a recap of the top stories. And today, some toll booth workers embarked on a demonstration following the stripping of tolls from all the country's roads. Some LGBTQI community members say they do not want the act legalized. The story will be sandwiched with some excerpts from the bill's public hearing. The 2020 budget has been approved today by the majority in Parliament. And that is it for tonight. Don't forget to stream live on Facebook on Adoatv Ghana, and also on YouTube. You can watch on Adoatv GH. The news was brought to you by Vena Natural Mineral Water, CB Herbal Center, Blue Sea Ties and Accessories. My name is Anastasia Badu. Do have a good evening.